Well, it's been a bit, but here we are. Thank you for coming by. There's a lot to cover because we haven't been on the air for a bit, but just thought we'd come back and fill in some of the gaps over the last bit of time. So as always, go to patmcclanahan.com. You can find all of the social media platforms there that we post on. If you would go to those that you watch this podcast on, if you would like it, follow it, whatever the terminology is for that media, just do that, get our numbers up. That helps us out in the long run. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And yeah, man, a lot has gone on. So we're going to just jump right in. Start with the redistricting referendum that was held here in Virginia. And if any of you have been following me, I did post some short reels just prior to that as we were ramping up for that special referendum that occurred in April. And so it passed with the yes vote meaning that the Virginia state constitutional amendment that was being voted on to change the way the congressional districts were decided. It was going to temporarily change the districts. And anyway, it won. It passed by a margin of about 51.5% to about 48.5%. And to be honest, that is pretty close to the way Virginia votes. If you look at it and say the yes votes were Democrats, the no votes were the Republicans, that's about where the last presidential election was. I believe Trump garnered 46% of the votes here in Virginia. So the 51-48 was pretty close to what's normal. Now the thing was, if you're not familiar with the redistricting amendment that was being passed or was being voted on, was that they wanted to redraw all the district lines so that right now what Virginia has is they have 6 districts that pretty much lean Democrat and 5 districts that pretty much lean Republican. So 6-5, and that's kind of the way the state votes. I think that was pretty fair. And what the amendment wanted to do was redraw those district lines so there would basically be one district that leaned Republican, the other 10 leaned towards the Democrats. So, and there was a lot of fighting going on, and there's all sorts of things that numbers and stuff that flew around. But it passed, and immediately there were lawsuits that were filed against it based on some of the procedural happenings that went along. The passing of an amendment or bringing a new amendment to the Virginia State Constitution is a long, intentionally long and laborious process to give plenty of time, plenty of thought. I personally, the idea that you put a temporary change into the Constitution as an amendment, but anyway. So what happened was the Virginia Supreme Court said this was done illegally according to the Virginia State Constitution, and they said, no, this isn't right. It can't go forward, and the redistricting amendment is at this point not going to be changed or added or whatever to the Virginia State Constitution. Now, the Democrats, they went to the state Supreme Court, filed some paperwork. The state Supreme Court said, no, we're standing by what we said. The state Attorney General then went to the Supreme Court of the United States, and they refused the case and said, no, that's a state issue, and what has been done has been done. And, I'm not going to get into all of the thing about, did the Virginia State Supreme Court undo the will of the people, because the will of the people was that it passed. And the reality is that they would never have gotten a chance to vote on it if it had been done properly, because of the timing. It was all about timing, all about procedure. And so it's kind of an interesting, the Supreme Court, before the referendum, before the vote, had been approached, because there was a lower court's ruling that came along, and the Supreme Court said, no, we can't rule whether a law is legal or illegal until after it's going to become a law. So in this case, if the no votes would have succeeded and won the day, then the Supreme Court would never have gotten involved, because that's just that was their thinking, or their view is that we can't rule against it or for it even until it becomes law. So the referendum, the redistricting referendum, is currently dead. Who knows what political craziness might come yet? There have been basically threats to fire, if you will, or remove that Supreme Court justice that wrote the opinion, wrote a 43-page opinion about this particular case. So it wasn't just, easy yes, no. There was a lot of thought that went into it. I read most of it, didn't understand some of the legalese and all that, but it's pretty well written, I thought. And so I'll put a link in the comment area down below to where you can find that that opinion. Okay. What else we got? Oh yeah, the it was kind of interesting when the paperwork was filed by the state attorney general to the state Supreme Court. Somebody didn't do a very good job because they misspelled senator. It was senator. Don't know what a senator is, but and they misspelled Virginia. And nobody caught this. It went to the state Supreme Court. And then on top of that, when they submitted the paperwork to the U.S. Supreme Court, the title of the document was Emergency Application to the Supreme Court of Virginia. Not to the Supreme Court of the United States, but to the Supreme Court of Virginia. So I don't know. I feel sorry because I think somebody is going to get grief or maybe even get fired, whoever typed it or whatever. But I think the person who put their name on it, who signed it, is the one that should have made sure that was all done. So anyway, probably the other big thing that has happened was that Governor Spanberger has signed what is referred to as the assault weapons ban. Senate Bill 727, Senate Bill 749 were signed into law. And, there is a lot of wringing of hands and gnashing of teeth about what that's going to do. And to be honest, many of I shouldn't say many, but there are some of the lawyers across the state who are pro-Second Amendment individuals that say a lot of these laws will get shot down once they get to the Supreme Court because they address things that have already been addressed by the Supreme Court. And yeah, the fact is the Supreme Court they can always change their mind. They can always review and redo. But a lot of what was banned are things that have already been decided by the U.S. Supreme Court. So we'll see how that goes. I'll also put a link below to the definition of what's actually going to be banned that was in the law that got signed. I guess we'll just wait and see what happens to all of that in the end. There was some things that the governor, so when the legislature passed it off to the governor passed it back to them with even more restrictive amendments she wanted to the bill. And the General Assembly said, no, take it or leave it. And so she went ahead and signed that into law. And so we'll see how that goes on down the road. A couple other things that the governor vetoed, some good, some bad. The collective, excuse me, the collective bargaining bill for government employees. There was an attempt to force all of the state government employees to be a part of a collective bargaining unit. That did not pass. Whether it's good or bad, I'm really not sure. I read things on both sides of the argument. One of the things, the negative things, is that it would have actually cost quite a bit of money. And this administration in Virginia ran on affordability, and it just seems like that was a place that a lot of money was going to go into a deep hole with no real benefit. There was also a prescription drug affordability plan that was vetoed by the governor. And again, I was kind of surprised. I read a couple of articles. I don't remember where they were. It was a while back during the General Assembly sessions about what's wrong with some of the attempts to control drug prices. And I don't know, if you take some of the expensive drugs, or you take a lot of even mildly expensive drugs, it gets to be a burden on you financially, or on your family. And so I do think that something should be and can be and will be done. The question always comes up: why are these same drugs so affordable in other countries? And why can't we do that here in the United States? So we'll see if that is resurrected in the next General Assembly session in the new year, a year from now. But the Prescription Drug Advisory Board, as presented to the governor, was vetoed. Another thing that was vetoed was the cannabis control, the commercialization of recreational marijuana across the state. And I'm really thankful for the governor vetoing this, just because I don't think recreational marijuana is a good idea. I lived in California when they legalized it there, and it just continues to cause problems in families, with law enforcement, driving under the influence, all that. So I'm glad, because the bill, if I understood it right, did not allow counties or cities to opt out. That if somebody wanted to come into your city and open a dispensary, well, not necessarily a dispensary, just a recreational marijuana store, you couldn't stop them. You couldn't say, no, we've decided as a city or county not to do that. So good thing, good stuff there. And I am glad that the governor vetoed that. Also, the governor vetoed adding Fairfax County to the list of localities eligible for a casino. I heard she made some very powerful Democrats angry with that. Fairfax County is a very strong Democrat controlled county in Virginia. It's up north, and so she, for whatever reason, vetoed that. Don't know exactly why or what's going on, but we'll see if there's consequences to that. Who knows? One of the couple of things that the governor did sign wasn't so happy that she signed the National Popular Vote Compact, basically putting Virginia on that list of states that have voted for that. And again, my understanding is that if that passes enough states, then it will gain traction. And what it is that whoever wins, whichever presidential candidate wins the popular vote, they would get all of Virginia's electoral votes. And I guess this is somewhat of a reaction to the Electoral College. It's some way to make, I guess, control that. And so we'll see how this movement for the National Popular Vote Compact goes as other states could take it up, consider it, and whether we reach the number. And I don't know what the number is, but it's I don't think that's really a good idea, because it somewhat takes away from the state the decision making. The decision making based on the vote within your state. I mean, that should be what decides. And again, the General Assembly kind of shoving this through because they have the votes, they have the power, and so they can do kind of what they want. And I don't think this is a good idea. One of another good thing that did come along, I think, is there was an effort, a bill handed to the governor to promote the development and use of accessory dwelling units. If you're not familiar with what an accessory dwelling unit is, it's basically on your lot. You can build, say, a small home, like whether it's something for maybe a mother-in-law type of apartment. Your mom or your mother-in-law can't live on her own, but doesn't need to be in a supported facility. She can come live in the home in your on your lot. Other states have done this. Where the ADU actually can be rented out. It does help with trying to provide some affordable housing for people of low income. And again, in California, they were really pushing ADUs when I was there, and they were gaining some traction. I don't know what's happened since I left, and so I don't really know beyond that. The governor also signed a agreement that Virginia would rejoin the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. Again, this is one of those kind of hot potato topics where you read somebody's opinion and they say, "Oh, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread," and other people say, "No, it really doesn't do anything other than becomes a place where some people get wealthy and a lot of money is just dumped into this organization that really does nothing in the long run." So there were a lot of other bills that got signed and some other ones that got vetoed, and I don't know what they were specifically, because I didn't pay attention to those. What we addressed here today was pretty much the things that I thought were of interest during the General Assembly session. So we'll see where it goes from here and how things happen. Just kind of waiting. I know on the gun control legislation, the assault rifle bans, that the National Rifle Association, I believe the Gun Owners of America, a couple other large organizations have filed suit already against these laws that will go into effect on July 1st. Also, the U.S. Department of Justice has said they are going to initiate an investigation to see if things maybe aren't being done properly as far as gun control. So, yeah, a lot of things, as always. Politics gets people's dander all up, and things get crazy. But for the most part, here in Virginia, now we are focused on there's 3 more amendments that will be on the ballot come November. And so haven't seen any yard signs or any advertisements, anything hitting social media yet, but I'm sure it's going to come shortly. But those will be the next couple of things that are on the political agenda. And we'll keep you up to date with that, as well as other things that are going on. So have a good day, and we will catch you later. Bye-bye.